Welcome to Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. This is not your typical financial radio show. As a licensed CPA, insurance agent, and investment advisory representative, Chris coaches his clients on a holistic view of financial well-being with an objective of providing a complete financial strategy to fund life's goals. Chris is here to guide you down the path to the financial serenity you deserve. Now, here's Chris Cooper.
Okay, good morning. We are going to spend some time talking about important discussions relating to business owners, especially trademarking, copywriting, franchises, and things related to very important topics. And in studio with me, my friend Kelly Spann. How are you, Kelly?
I'm great. How are you?
I am great. And you've been helping me along my line stay protected as well. So this is an important message I've been wanting to get out to our community for a very long time. So thanks for coming in today.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's just start off very simple, right? And this is something that, quite frankly, I know a lot about this kind of stuff. I think about these kinds of risks and concerns. Copyright and trademark, very different terms. And exactly what is the difference and how does that work?
They are very different, although most people get them mixed up.
It's not just me, right? It is common.
Okay. It is not just you.
Okay,
it is
good.
Quite a few people. I get, even people I have their registered trademarks for go, hey, what about my copyright? And I'm like, okay, two totally separate things.
Yeah.
But here's how I explain it. So intellectual property is this huge umbrella, and underneath of it is usually what you typically hear is patent, trademark, and copyright. So the way I like to explain it is with an example, particularly with a camera. So a camera, the actual invention, was protected by a patent.
Okay.
Right? They protect how the actual camera functions.
Which is intellectual. Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Fair enough.
The trademark is Polaroid.
Okay. So name.
Yes. It's
brand.
the name that the consumer recognizes when they're going to buy the camera.
Okay.
Copyright is the picture you take.
Okay.
So copyright is like thoughts, creative outlets that is put in some kind of tangible form. Music, movies, and presentations,
right?
Podcast, all of this.
Oh man, she's getting me on the copyrights on my podcast now, guys. Watch out.
Copyright. So the trademark is Serenity Wealth Management, right? It's your logo. It's what people recognize that belongs to you. So if I'm looking for your services, I look at that logo and I go, okay, that's Chris.
Yeah.
Where if I see another logo, that's somebody else, right? And that's how they're identifying you.
Yeah.
The podcast is just your copyright that is bringing the people to you.
So to make it easy and like relative to just, I'll use me as an example. My trademark, Serenity Wealth Management, my company, I can have multiple copyrights for the content that I utilize and provide to the public to help make things, to get the message out there.
100%. Your website's copyright. Yep. Any advertisements you do is copyright. This
is really not that complicated.
No, it really
is fairly straightforward. Yeah. Well, I think it's different because there was no legalese to the way you just described this. Yes. You're an attorney, but you tend to, and I've noticed this, you tend to not speak like an attorney, if you will.
Very true.
Yeah. I think that's a thank you moment, right? Yeah. Like that's a compliment, I think.
It is.
All right.
It is. I spend a lot of time trying to take legalese out of things and apply it to real practical. Kind of like if you go to the doctor, if the doctor talks in medical terms, I'm like, I have no idea what you just said.
Right.
Right? Or in financial terms, you guys speak a different language than me too.
I try not to as well. We have that in common. Yes. I tend to be the non-financial guy, if you will, because that's not what people relate to.
Right.
They don't understand, the legal terms behind things. You see that legal paragraph, you want it interpreted in a way that, I can understand.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
And I just translate.
I think it's perfect. And that makes the most sense. So I love it. In the first 3-4 minutes of the show, we've figured out the differences between trademark, copyright, patent, and they're all applicable in their own ways.
Yes.
Right.
And they're all powerful.
Do you think every business should have some type of trademark representation? Or, every's hard to say, right? But
right. So if you said every, I would give you the classic attorney answer and say it depends. Because that's the disclosure.
I would probably have to say that for compliance purposes as well. Right. So fair enough.
But I would say the majority, yes.
Yeah.
It's especially in today's day and age where everything is online and you're on social media and you almost have to have an internet presence to run a business. Well, now, so back in the day, if you just had, your little sandwich shop, the odds of a competitor entering your territory under the same name was pretty slim. And they'd have to do a random stop to even find you, right? Where now, the second you're out on the internet, you are a target.
Right.
And you will get letters from people like me that say, hey, by the way, we found you, you're using our registered trademark. And even though this is a classic thing, by the way, I get the excuse, oh, the Missouri or Illinois or whatever Secretary of State said the name's available. Well, Missouri Secretary of State will tell you McDonald's LLC number 2 is available. It doesn't mean it's actually available for you to use. It just means it's not, the identical name is not already in their registry.
It's not in their registration as a company, as an entity in Missouri.
Yes. But
very different.
Very different. So federal registration will block you 100% of the time. So it's important to realize that, the Secretary of State may say, hey, you can use this name.
Well, what about IRS EIN numbers though? That's trademark? No?
No.
I know I knew that going in. So I was just tossing you a softball there. So
no, it is not.
Because that's just like registering at the state level. It's just on a federal level, but it's just a tax number. It is not trademarking. It is still not protecting. And that's ultimately, and we've had this conversation offline, that's why you trademark.
Yes.
For the protection side of it, right?
Yes. It works kind of like an insurance policy for your business. You're ensuring that name is yours, belongs to you, and nobody else can step in and stop you from using it.
Makes sense, because when this is, I talk about this in the wealth management arena all the time, right? When we talk about a holistic financial plan that really is truly complete, we have to talk about taxes. We have to talk about potential long-term care concerns. We have to make sure we can retire, do it in the most effective way, all that stuff. But we also have to talk about legacy, succession. We have to think about the what if we pass away, what happens with our family. By doing the trademark on your business, you're ensuring that the business name that you're building has that credibility.
Yep. And it's an actual tangible asset. You can actually transfer the registration in a sale. Same with copyright registrations. Once they're registered, it's a tangible asset for your business.
So you're building value.
Yes. And it's one of the things, like if you're doing due diligence, I do a lot of transactions where businesses are either selling or transitioning in some way. And one of the things that is part of the due diligence is, do you have registered trademarks? Do you have registered copyrights? And if you do, it adds value because you are ensuring the buyer of your business that you've secured the registration for that name, and they're not going to buy a risk.
Because that's what somebody's buying. The company, they're buying your goodwill, your company that you've created, and there's a protection that comes into play with that, with the trademark.
Correct. 100%.
Makes sense. It just makes sense. So at some point in time, and look, we're all business owners here, right? Talk to a lot of business owners. The last thing we think about is, oh, well, I need to make sure I've got my 401k plan designated, and I need to make sure that I've got a trademark done and all this. That's not what you think about.
Right. No.
Probably really think about what you want to do. If you're a landscaping company, what are you going to focus on?
Right.
I probably want to make sure I got the equipment I need to do my jobs, all that stuff. This is probably one of the last things we think about.
Yep.
Almost when it's too late.
Usually that's when I get a phone call, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Is, hey, by the way, I got a cease and desist letter. Or, hey, by the way, I noticed a competitor that is getting dangerously close to me and copying everything. And I can guarantee you, at any attorney, whether it's me or another one, the very first question we're going to ask is, do you have a trademark registration or do you have a copyright registration? Right. Because if you do, you just increased the power that we have threefold easily.
Makes sense.
If you don't, you still have rights and you still have claims, but it's not as powerful, not even close.
Right. Now, is this a cost effect? I mean, is it a very costly thing to go and do the trademark type? I don't think it really is.
It really isn't. You will hear out, and it drives me crazy, especially on social media, where they're like, oh, it's so expensive to get a trademark. It's really not.
Yeah.
Especially,
you also hear how expensive it is to work with a financial advisor at times too. And
right.
it's really
and how
not,
they're just stealing your money and you can do it yourself. You can self-manage.
Yeah.
100%. all the So
you can do a will by yourself too, can't you?
Yeah.
That's a whole nother show.
It is a
Kelly,
whole
I'm
other
sorry.
show.
We'll
that
digress.
is definitely a no. Free advice. No, don't, please. Also, same with trademarks. I tell people all the time, could you potentially do it yourself? Yes. Do I advise you to do it? No.
Yeah.
Because your cost will increase if you try to do it yourself and you mess it up. Also, if you mess it up and don't register it for the right thing, it's completely useless. So there is actual strategy that goes into trademark registrations. Copyright, I actually tell people all the time, listen, for $500, I'll show you exactly how to do it. And then you do it yourself, right? Because the filing fee is really not that much. It's usually somewhere around $50 to $65.
And there's not a lot of risk because it's a piece of it's just it's a component of your overall trademarking strategy, if you will.
Correct.
Right?
Your business strategy. It is literally, once you learn how to do it, it's actually incredibly easy.
Yeah.
So I just say, listen, $500, I'll teach you how to do it with one filing, and then you can go about your way and do it. Or here's another thing. The U.S. Copyright Office actually has videos, tons of them, on their website that actually show you, literally walk you through the application. Oh. So you can pay me and I can give you like the cheat sheet for it.
Sure.
Or you can just watch videos.
Are they
free.
decent? I mean, because you do a lot of videos. I watch a lot of your videos too. They're fun. You do have, it's fun watching your videos.
Thank you. I would not go to say that the Copyright Office videos are fun.
I can't imagine.
But they are efficient. Like it is literally, it will baby step you through.
Yeah.
Like here, like it'll literally say, okay, and then you click next. Like it's not fun per se, but it does the job.
There's not a lot of government run agencies that I would say, have fun with it. Right. So
nope, not
you
even
don't usually
close.
think like that.
No.
So, and that's okay. Maybe if they're having too much fun, they should just not exist anymore. So
do you remember Blue's Clues?
Yes, okay. I do. Yeah. The little
dating.
What's the dog name, right? This is the little dog.
Blue.
Oh, it is Blue. Yes.
Yeah. So
of course it is.
The guy on Blue's Clues, which I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but the man on Blue's Clues.
Okay, I can't. I don't know.
The USPTO does trademark videos, and if you watch one of these videos, you will never not see it again. He's the adult version of that. He sounds just like him. Is it
him?
I don't think so, but I mean, just like him.
You're going to get a cease and desist now because you called him out on this. And he's been trying to hide his identity.
He's been trying to hide. He didn't do a good job. Everybody who's like, I make my new staff watch it when I'm training them on trademarks, just so they can get a basis of what they are, right? And every single time I go, do you know Blue's Clues? And they're like, yeah. I go, okay, now watch this video. And they're like, I can't unsee it now. Like it's just there.
Maybe it's intentional. Maybe that's their marketing thing.
So they're kind of fun to me just because.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Blue's Clues.
Well, you probably can enjoy, attorney-related videos, legal videos, or legal topics. And I'm a tax dork, right? So taxes and like tax changes and tax law, I sometimes get a little excited. And I'll mention it to Stacey. Ooh, I read this cool article. She's like, that's dumb. That's not a fun article to read. And I understand it, but we all have our things.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, all right. So now we understand difference, trademarks, patents. Now, businesses, last thing to think about, but it's never too late to have this conversation. Sometimes it might be too early, but if you're growing a business and especially if you're focusing on brand, making sure you have that protection for the image and what you're looking to have in the world makes sense.
Yes.
Have that conversation.
100%. Because it's really never too early because we can file what's called intent to use applications, which means you are reserving the name until you do decide to use it.
Okay.
Which starts the process early, and we'll know if there are any issues, right?
Yeah.
I can also do the same searches that the USPTO does. I'm trained in them. I can do knockout searches, and we can clear a name before we ever apply, right? Also, one of the things I tell clients all the time is they come to me with a name, and I'm like, ugh, it's so generic.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, my marketing guy said this, that, and the other, and it's good for SEO. I go, exactly. If it's good for SEO, it's bad for trademark.
Yeah.
Right? Because if everybody else is saying lawn care, like you can't stop people from saying lawn care. You can't even register it. In fact, we'll have to disclaim it, right?
Which is what we did in my situation with wealth management,
Yes.
right? Because it's a lot of wealth management out there.
Correct.
So
Everybody's allowed to say wealth management, so you can't stop
as
them.
a country and a society, we wouldn't want that to happen, or else that would cause all kinds of other weird issues, right? Like that doesn't make sense. You want to know what companies offer, and you want to, like, can you imagine if one company owned landscaping? Like, we'd have to change the world for everyone else. Like,
absolutely.
Now all of a sudden you have to call all these people. Just now, do you really do landscaping, or do you just,
Yep. And that's why
strange.
The USPTO will not let you register generic terms.
Makes sense.
Or descriptive terms.
Sure.
You have to register. The more unique your term is, the easier it is for you to protect.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like, if you read, like, Apple, for example, nobody heard the word Apple back in the day and thought of a computer.
Right.
They had to do tons of marketing to the point now where they're considered a famous mark. And if you say Apple, is it the first thing? Does the fruit come up, or does a computer come up? I would say, context wise, I would say most of the time people are like, oh, on my Apple. Like, it's probably know.
Phone in today's world, actually.
Yeah. Yes. So I think it, depending on context, it's almost always Apple, phone, or technology.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Unless you are literally saying, I'm hungry and I would like an apple. Like, then they know. But that's my point, though, is like, they chose a term that had nothing to do with computers in the average consumer's mind and built up a brand behind it. Mm-hmm. And that's what you should be focusing on.
Yeah.
And that's what creates the value. And if you get to be somebody like Apple, like McDonald's, like these mega powerhouses of trademarks, if I tried to register McLaw, you better believe I would have a McDonald's cease and desist on my desk within minutes. They're a famous mark. So one thing to remember with trademark is it protects not only the name or the logo, it protects anything confusingly similar to it.
Yeah.
Right? So if I tried to be cute and spell Apple a different way, it's still going to block me.
You're going to say it's too close.
It's too close, right? I might even get blocked with pear at this point because Apple's so popular now that if I tried to register pear and compete with Apple, I probably would get blocked, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because the idea is, name one other reason I would do that other than to try and trade off of the goodwill of that other person.
And that's what it's trying to protect.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
In some ways.
Yeah.
It's a weird way of thinking about it, but when you actually do stop to think about it, it can actually kind of make sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it. All right. So you focus a lot on patents and things like that as well. Then also franchise is also a big piece of your business too. So what are some of the things that are common things that come up with franchise?
Okay. So I'm one of the few people in the entire United States that solely represents franchisees. Okay. So in a franchise situation, you have the franchisor, which owns like McDonald's corporate, right?
Right.
And then you see all the little local shops. The people who are buying those local area franchises are the franchisees. Mm-hmm. You'll find tons of attorneys that'll represent McDonald's corporate, but there's not a lot that do the franchisee side exclusively anyway. Okay. That's exclusively what I do. So I love to help people evaluate the agreements before they sign them. Mm-hmm. I will say probably 90% of my clients are people who's already signed them and things are not going well. Right?
Oh, what? They don't talk to attorneys beforehand?
Right, no.
Only when the problems arise?
Typically get the phone call after we do something. Yeah. I try to get to people before, but, I can't always convince them that they need it evaluated.
Well, they don't know, right? How can you know to look for these kind of things? Because you don't know. You're going in hopefully excited to partner with a franchise, right? You're excited. You're changing your world. You're changing your life. You're figuring out how to fund it, all of these fancy things.
Yep.
And hopefully you're doing it with some eyes open, but also some excitement. Last thing you're going to think about is the what if.
Yes. And when franchisees are first getting involved, this is the typical story that I experience, right? So it's usually first-time franchisees that are calling me. They have assumed because franchisors and their brokers and consultants tell them that it's a highly regulated industry.
Uh-huh.
And it absolutely is not. It's not even close.
Okay.
Not even remotely close to regulated. So they do have what's called the amended FTC rule. So the amended franchise rule is what we call it. So there is a federal rule that they are supposed to follow. And there's 23 disclosure items, and they're supposed to disclose all this stuff, right? There's not a single person or company or entity or government actually policing it. So yes, they have to, on paper, fill out a form, essentially, that is relatively lengthy.
Yeah.
But there's nobody making sure that what's in it is true.
Okay.
There's nobody making sure that what is in it is complete, right?
Which makes the risk.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
John and I, for doing this 21 years at this point, I can pick up red flags in a 300, like you talk about people's weird, like they getting kicks out of stuff. I get a kick out of reading a 300-page contract. Why? No idea. I just do. I will read every single word. The
You read
footnotes,
every word. You don't just skim it.
every word.
Holy cow.
Every footnote.
Well, I guess you kind of
everything.
have to, because that's where all the things get buried, right?
Yes.
Or not, or missed.
Right.
If you will,
And
so.
you have to read it, every single word from front to back, because franchise is a very dynamic relationship, right? And you're not going to be able to truly assess the full picture if you're just reading it piecemeal. You have to read it as a whole to understand it as a whole. And I've read so many of these over the years, and I've sued so many franchisors over the years that I'm good at picking up the red flags.
Okay.
But there's nobody regulating these things at all. So they tout that they're regulated, but they're actually not.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. So yes, there is a rule, a law that they're supposed to follow per se. But if they break the law, the only person that can hold them accountable is the Attorney General.
Oh, geez.
So I can't sue them personally for violating the rule.
So that's
even
why
though
you
they
get the contract done in advance, so that you have recourse in the event of contract.
Well, and I can like spot
breach.
the issues and like point out like, okay, here's where, because this is the other thing that happens. Franchising, what it boils down to is a 300-page contract. Okay, most people don't realize that. And then they get told stuff in the sale process. Oh, we're going to advertise for you, and oh, we're going to do this for you, and we're going to do that for you.
Right.
Well, then when they're not doing it, what they do is they come to me and they say, oh, they're not doing it. They told me they were going to. I go, yeah, but your contract says we may at our discretion.
Yeah.
That's what I'm forced to bring to a court. I can't enforce it.
It's hard to defend.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important to understand the dynamic that you're entering into, because it's not just opening up your own business, right? It is a very unique dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's great for a lot of people. And it's terrible for some, right?
Yeah.
And then understand that you're in a long-term contract, which, by the way, like if you and I fail, we just close the doors, right?
Yeah.
Like we close the doors, we move on with our life, we pick up the pieces, we go on. If you fail as a franchisee, you owe the franchisor for the remainder of your contract.
Oh, that's not good.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and most people don't realize it because they don't have an attorney who's educated in franchise law.
You got to figure out the out clause, if you will, right? Or some kind of amicable situation has to be identified for those things. Protection.
Yes. I tell clients every single time, your job is to assume that everything is going to go great and you plan for your success.
Yeah.
My job is to assume everything is going to go wrong so that if it does, you are protected and you're knowledgeable and you know your rights and you know what you need to do.
Sure. Makes sense. Yeah. I tell people that when I'm looking at retirement planning and things, right? My job isn't to tell you when you have to die because you're out of money.
Right.
That's the worst, right? Yep. We want to say, hey, can our monies last? Living our lifestyle that we have today. My job shouldn't be to tell you when to stop going on vacations. I don't know. That's awful. I want to talk about the vacations you want to go to.
Right.
I want to see what kind of rate of return can we reasonably achieve, or do we have to achieve in order to fund our lifestyle that's unknown.
Right.
But enjoy it. I hope we can enjoy it until we're 100.
Yep.
God, that would be amazing. But we don't know.
Right.
We're going to test it. We're going to test it so that we can see those kind of things. And you got to have somebody thinking about that, or else you're just going to one day either be out of money or, be obligated to a franchisor that doesn't necessarily have your best interest in mind.
Yes, 100%. And it's so important. Financial planning, legal, all that stuff. You have to have somebody who understands strategy.
Yeah.
Right? Like it can't just be, because life changes happen, right? There's things that are well out of our control that change all the time.
Yep.
And you have to be able to pivot.
And the industry changes all the time, right? Like tax laws,
100%.
all kinds of stuff changes all the time. So
Yes.
not everyone keeps up with that stuff. And quite frankly, not everyone's the dork we are in what we do to enjoy reading that stuff.
It's true.
So you got to have the dork looking out for you.
It's very true.
So yeah, I appreciate that. That's amazing. And it makes complete sense to me. Relationships are key, and talking about it from a professional point with the background without talking like an attorney.
Yep. 100%.
It's kind of not bad, right?
Yeah.
So you do a lot of fun videos and stuff like that on social media too. So not many attorneys do that either, by the way.
No, I spend a lot of time.
I like to do those too. So it's fun.
Not fitting the mold, right? Like I wear, like you'll see me in like today, nice jeans, heels, nice shirt, sweater. I don't need a suit to activate my brain. I could kick your butt in PJs.
There you go.
I don't need
that's what I like to do too. I say the same kind of thing. I'm a blue jeans guy, polo.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Run circles around your little tie guy behind the mahogany desk.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I always think about, the mahogany desk with financial services.
I always use the marble floor lobby area, right?
Go.
Like I'm not your marble floor lobby attorney. It's not going to happen. If you want them, great. It's not me.
Sure.
Right. Like I'm not that person. But yeah, I am not your typical attorney for sure. Hands down.
And that's why you're here. That's why I like working with you. It's fun because we can have conversations about life, because that's what matters to people, right? We don't think about attorney stuff. We don't think about law. Right. We don't think about financials. We don't think about how to fund retirement or how to save on taxes or how to protect assets, whether it's insurance or legal protections, which have to be in place too. Business owners, individuals, we just want to do our thing.
Right.
It's the last thing we want to think about is the stuff.
Right.
Right.
And I would say I'm probably even behind you, because you at least are like, they're going to you because they're like, oh, okay, he can strategically help me make more money, right? And protect everything. Name one person that's like, I want to go to an attorney's office.
Well, because it's looked at, it's the I have to pay this bill for this. Yeah,
yes.
It's
not many people volunteer to.
Yeah, but it's so important. It's that protection side of it is so important. I talk, business owners, you got to have an operating agreement. You got to have your buy sells if you've got partnerships fully funded, which is a whole nother conversation we could get into, right? Yep. Look out for those what ifs and those concerns. And that's what keeps you out of trouble. That's what keeps you in business. Focus on the things you want to do, which is helping your customers.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
Yes, 100%.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for finally stopping by. I'm really glad we got a chance to do this finally. So,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. All right, folks. So the key message here, protection, protect the assets. That is how you get the serenity you deserve. Asset protection. Legal thing is important as well. The legal side can protect your business interest. In many cases, your trust interest. A lot of assets can be protected on that legal side, but you have to have financial strategy behind those decisions as well. Things like just changing beneficiaries, updating that information, very important to make sure your wishes are protected. Those are the things we focus on at Serenity Wealth Management. We work with a lot of business owners, making sure our goals and our objectives are obtained for the long term. These apply also to individuals, right? Businesses have a little bit more complexity, a little bit more things intertwined with business related focus, but individuals need to think about protection of income streams, protection from market conditions, making sure the investment strategy you have makes sense for you today and into the future. Mitigation of government tax risk, right? All things we need to think about. Long-term care, all part of that complete financial strategy. You can get more information on Serenity Wealth and how to protect the things that are important to you right there on our website, SerenityWealthNow.com. And check out our events section. We've got some really cool upcoming events talking about taxes, legacy maximization. Got some scheduled up in February. So make sure to check out our website. Have a great, enjoyable President's Day holiday, and we will see you next time on Serenity Wealth Now Radio.
This is Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. Request a free copy of Chris's latest book, The New Holistic Retirement, by visiting SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.
Serenity Now!